everybody. Welcome to the Sharon and Joe Show. My name is Sharon.
Hi, everybody. My name's Joe.
So Joe and I are in the garage, one dog less because Belle decided to leave and she's hanging out. She's probably on the bed right now.
Our little Bichon is being a Bichon.
Yes. But we still have Fiona here. She's my little lap dog, so we're good. Joe and I had a good day today. I had to work earlier, but after work, we went apple picking.
Yeah, it was fun, you guys. We went blueberry picking a few weeks back, and you know, it's not like we have a lot of money or anything like that, especially after these divorces. But we find the simple things like going to the park or picking apples or berries. It just keeps us in a present moment, and it's just fun. It's something to do together, and it's intimate. And then we take it back home and we make apple crisp, apple pie, apple sauce, whatever.
Yeah, we're gonna make a whole bunch of stuff beginning tomorrow. And Joe, you're gonna help me, right?
Yes, I'll be your helper. I suck at baking.
No, you don't. You're good. I think you're a good cook.
I don't like to measure shit. I just put it in there. I'm like, I eye up some salt or butter. I'm like, okay, that looks good. You measure.
Well, yes and no. Like, you have to measure when you're baking. It's important. When you're cooking, I don't always do that if I was making like something savory, but if I'm baking, yeah, you have to measure.
So I'll learn.
Yeah, you'll learn. Damn it. But, so Joe and I were thinking, we were talking about this earlier, something that we could talk about in tonight's video, because there's a few things going on. We thought we'd talk a little bit about that. But I think the overarching, I don't know how to say that. The main point of what I want to talk about and what we want to talk about is how important it is to remember that once you're done with a narcissist, like once you get to that point and you do it, you finish, like, oh my gosh, I did it, I'm divorced, or whatever it is, life still has its challenges. The narcissist, isn't like the only challenge we'll ever have in our life. And it's important for us to use the mentality use the mentality God gave us to get out of the entanglements with the narcissist, and use them throughout the rest of our lives as well.
When I was at the no contact stage, there was a lot of like inner work that I did, like looking at myself, looking at what my part was, how I was delusional myself and self-seeking and my codependency and please love me. And if you do this, I didn't realize like it's not all peaches and cream afterwards, like I was a part of that problem. And I had a good friend tell me when I got sober many moons ago, he said, he would ask me, well, is there a problem? And I'd say, yeah, there is. And he said, well, you better hope it's yours, because if it is, then you got a chance to do something about it. So just recently, there was a health issue that came back full circle, 360 degrees. When I was born, I had a birth defect that affected my whole life, unfortunately, because the way I saw things and the surgeries that I went through and stuff. And, it's tough for me to talk about because it's a very deep wound. And I feel very selfish because there's other people that have life-threatening illnesses and have lost limbs and this. And here I am worried and thinking like, it really sucks. But I think it had a lot to do with my drinking and using drugs. I had a lot to do with my codependency. It just kind of, it affected every fabric of my life pretty much. And it was basically all based on fear. But to give you an example, like, I don't want to tell you, once you get done with the narcissist, you're good to go. You're going to skip off into the blue. There was still issues that I had to deal with. One of them was this, just to give you an example, it took me about 2 years to go through my divorce. The day that I finally got the divorce and I got to keep my boys in the house, and that same day I got laid off of work. So my financial insecurity, that instinct immediately set in. And then a week later, I went to the doctors for a checkup. I had an ear infection, and the ear that I have, I'm on the right side of my head, was what do you call it? It's not prosthetic, but it's
well, you have like an implant, I guess.
Yeah, it's an implant that I had from when I was some surgeries a while back. Is infected, and I have to have my ear amputated, and it was like a cruel joke almost. I got done with the fight of my life with the psychopathic narcissist that was multi-level effed up. Had my car stolen, my bank account drained, 2 boys, 2 cats, a dog, and her mother living at the house. Finally get through that battle. And I knew that God did for me when I couldn't do for myself. He saved my ass. And then it was like, okay, you lost your job and you're going to lose your ear. And this ear thing was something that when I was a young boy, when I was born, actually, I had, there was a deformity I had where I was born without an earlobe. And by the time I was 12 years old, I had 13 major operations. My mother was an alcoholic and a narcissist, but she was educated. My father worked many hours in a steel mill. They put me through Catholic school. They were trying to do the right thing, and it like the surgeries were done by inexperienced doctors. And I went through high school feeling like with the low self-esteem and stuff like that. And about 5 or 6 years ago, they finally had a procedure where I could actually get like an ear like grown, and it's like a synthetic ear, and it was like, wow, cool, and I was afraid of going to hospitals and stuff like that. I have PTSD from hospitals and doctors and stuff like that. Truly, one time I went to a dentist. It was my first cavity that I ever had, and when they put the spotlight on my face to go in, and they had the tools and stuff. I remember when I was a little kid, like 7 or 8, I remember like going into like the surgery room and on a steel bed with this white blanket, and there's drills and saws and shit like out. And I was just, I maintained my cool, but when I got out of there and I went into the elevator, go downstairs, go to my car, I started bawling. So it was a huge thing for me. I don't even know what to say other than like, I have a choice though today. Before I was in such a depression over what was going on with the narcissists in my sons and everything. I didn't have a choice really. Like it was a chemical imbalance. It was really bad.
I just want to interrupt you for 1 second. Because
this is hard talking about. So
no, it's good. No, you're not. Like the only reason I'm interrupting you now is because I've been thinking this for a while, and I don't want to like lose my train of thought. 'Cause I think this is important for what we're trying to talk about. Joe and I, like I've always had, I would always have told you at any point in my life, I believed in God. Joe, he had more of a relationship with God than I did growing up. Once I discovered God, before I discovered God, I considered God to work for me. Now, I wouldn't have like consciously, I wasn't aware of that, but it was, to me, God was Santa Claus. He would do things for me. I didn't know at all that my job was to do things for him. So Joe and I, he's talking about how horrible it was when he first got divorced, and then, all these things piled on, like, what the hell? Like, this isn't fair. Not realizing that anything that happens in your life, and I'm not saying that bad things don't happen that God had no control over. Like, I believe that. But what I'm saying is anything, we're here to help God, to do things for God. We have a job, and we're not here to be indulged. So like when things have happened to Joe or me too, sometimes we think, well, this isn't fair, God, why? Like, and it's like our kids, telling us, Dad, this isn't fair. We're here to help God. Anything that he puts on our plate, he gives you the strength to get through it. So, and Joe can go on more like with his ear, but I think that's kind of what we're trying to say. Just because, okay, I got through the divorce, I did this, it doesn't mean, okay, now you are going to be indulged and taken care of like in an obscenely obnoxious way for the rest of your life. That's not true.
I thought I had arrived, you guys, once I had the divorce.
I think we all do to a degree.
Yeah. I was like,
that is the big deal.
And I didn't take credit for it. I was like, thank you, God. But it was like, man, I'm going to go out and kick some ass now, the way I did before. And it just, I forgot that I was in a spiritual warfare. I became vain in a way. I had a part to play in that entanglement, as I mentioned. If you guys heard my story, I did a lot of work on myself to see how I was codependent. I had low self-esteem. So I'm faced with that again. Like, when are you going to stop caring what other people think about you? When are you going to get out of yourself and start helping other people so that you could open your eyes to the fact that, like, you have a beautiful life with abundant blessings? Like, when are you going to trust me? When are you going to, like, I almost stopped growing in my relationship with God. I was like, thank you. I'll call on you again someday kind of deal. And God doesn't need any of us. he calls us to work for him and to do his will because it's what feeds our soul, to be a part of something bigger than ourselves. Like, we're not that important, but to be able to do something for other people, to do his will, I think is like, there's a freedom and a peace in that. Like, I don't believe in a necessarily like a condemning God. He doesn't want us to sin because it fucks us up. It plays with us. It hurts us. He doesn't want to see us get hurt, you know?
Well, Dad, God, Joe and I call God Dad. I'm not sure if I said that or not, but in case we slip up in that way, God is our Father, and like you and I are parents, right? And we love doing things for our kids. So I always try to remind myself, well, we're God's children too. So He wants to do nice things for us. He doesn't want to hurt us. But unlike you or I, we try to be good parents, but I mean, I know you've done this. I have too. I'll punish my kids and then I'll relent. No, you can't use the car. And then like the next day, well, all right, like we relent, and that isn't always the best for our kids. God never does that. Whatever we have to go through is for our good. And I think when you're talking about like what you're going through, and it's a reminder to us, like for both of us, because after the divorce, it doesn't mean, like Joe said, like we're free. We're here on earth because we have God's will to do. And for you, like getting to the point where you can have the surgery and be good with it is crucial for your soul.
It is. It kind of so that you guys can kind of understand a little bit better. In 1999, I got sober, and I went to a recovery program. I don't want to mention its name out of respect for the group, but it's very popular. You guys probably heard of it. And I made some friends there, and I opened up because I always used to wear like a bandana or cover my head or wear long hair. And I opened up to some guys about how I felt, and I got to let them know me. I was always afraid, like, if they really knew me, like, if you really know me, you won't like me. So my life was full of drugs, alcohol, and lies. And I was about 5 or 6 months sober, and I started feeling better. And like a profound statement that my sponsor told me was, Joe, you're not that important. When you go into a room or you go into a crowd, nobody's looking at you. And he didn't say it in a mean way. And I felt this like weight drop off me. Like, really? Is that true? Because I was just so egocentric. And so six months sober or so is how I met the narcissist in the same program. I was serious about getting sober and changing my life and making amends for the wrongs I did. And I built this relationship with God. It was very personal. It was awesome. I loved it. And I like went off this road. And it's like everything's come around 360 now, where it's like I'm back to where I was, except I'm with my soulmate. And I need to face this again, except I'm older now. I'm not that young 25-year-old that's like dating people or worried about, like, I'm older now and I have somebody that loves me and my children are older and they're looking at me like, how he's going to respond to this? What's he going to do? And it's like, I got to face this. And I'm looking at it like, okay, I did it before, and there's a reason. And I just have to, I can either accept it or I can fight against what is and eventually pick up a drink again and like become a hermit and just die an alcoholic death. And I don't want to do that. I saw my mother do that. I saw my friends do that. And it's like I'm at a crossroads of balance now. And it's just, I'm okay. I think that what I'm afraid of, is what happens tomorrow if I feel a different way. Like, what if I start to get scared again or this or that? So I think that what we wanted to try to get out there is it's not all peaches and cream. When you're done with the narcissist was a distraction from, at least in my opinion, a distraction against me looking at myself and how I felt about myself and my own defects of character. Well, now that they're gone, I got a chance to look at this and live life in a new way and have a new freedom and a new happiness. The way I felt 20-something years ago when I first got sober, and now there doesn't have to be any distractions. It's based on how I accept this and in my attitude, how I look at it.
I've been telling Joe several times, I had it wasn't a medical issue, it was something else, but at the very beginning of my recovery, I had this ex-boyfriend like from a long time ago, like somebody I never thought of. It wasn't like I didn't see him, know where he was, like nothing. All of a sudden, God put in my mind this person. And this is just like, it sounds so weird. Like I could talk more about it if you guys are interested. It's just to relate to Joe. For 4 months, I went through absolute hell going through. Now, I was, like, at the time, still married to the narcissist, and I'm thinking about this ex-boyfriend from like 10 years ago, and it sounds insane and ridiculous. I went through absolute agony. I would have told you that first day that this guy was put in my mind, it was his fault that our relationship ended. I was basically completely innocent and was like a perfect angel. I'm trying to make this brief, but over 4 months, you guys, I went through so much hell trying to deal with this. And I got to the other side and I realized, oh my gosh, it was all my fault. I believe that I needed to get to that so that I could get to the next stage, and then to the next stage, and then to the next stage, to where I am now. And there's other challenges ahead of me too. And I feel like this is Joe's moment. You know, he has to go through this in order to get to the next stage, you know, and there's always going to be something, but this is like your big thing. And I think you're doing amazing. The other day, you guys, I was at work, and I when I'm at work, I go through these cycles where I'll like pray. I'll be like, right, I'm going to pray for Joe from 10 to 10:05. I'm going to pray for Paris from, 10:15 to 10:20, whatever it is. And I suddenly had this like, I was praying about Joe, I was praying for him, and all of a sudden I just felt this like, this heaviness, not in a bad way, like in a good way. I could feel God there. And there's been a couple of times that Dad will just reveal something to me about Joe. It's other people too, but specifically Joe. And it's like, I feel almost like I can feel part of what God feels in a way, if that makes sense. I felt so proud of you, and so like just, I wasn't there before when you went through these things, but I know you very well, and I know this is literally his worst fear he's going through. And I just think you're doing such a good job, and I really admire you for talking about it and telling other people when I know what this does to you.
If you guys heard our stories, we both were married to narcissists for 20 years. I think sometimes God will take the worst of us, and I'm not speaking for Sharon because he's by far not the worst, but speaking for myself, he'll take the biggest coward out there, like myself, and use me as a powerful example. Like, if I could get through it, anybody can. That's the truth. If you heard my story, now it's like I'm no saint, and I am afraid, but I'm doing it anyways. I don't have much of a choice. It has to be done. I do have a choice though of how I look at it, and really truly, like, if I do believe that I had a spiritual experience and that God saved me from the narcissist, which I know I didn't do myself, then there's a reason for this. And I believe when I was 4 or 5 months sober and I accepted who I was and people accepted me, there was a freedom that I experienced that I never did in my entire life. Never again after that. After I was with the narcissist, I got further and further away from God. And I'm being given a chance again to know that freedom. And now with a little bit more wisdom and discernment, maybe I could be more effective in helping other people. I don't know, but I just know that I have the power of choice, like how to look at things.
I think that helping other people really is the secret to happiness. Like, think about the difference if, like, say I went to the store and bought something that I really, really wanted. Yeah, that'd be great. Like, oh my gosh, like, love this bracelet, whatever it is. It's not the same as if I buy something for you, Joe, or for the kids. Like, on Christmas, I don't think, oh my God, what am I going to get? I can't, like, your son's birthday's coming up. And I'm like, well, what can I get him? Like, you know what I mean? You get excited. But I want to tell you something someone told me one time, and it really made me feel better. Some of you may know I lost 2 babies when I was pregnant, before they were born. And someone said to me one time that it isn't like that if this has happened to you, if you've had a miscarriage or a problem like that, this child had meaning. That, God, I was honored to be able to carry 2 of these babies for however long God needed. I was needed by God to carry these children. And I felt that they explained it a little more eloquently than me, but basically it meant that you have the honor of being able to help God do something for these children. They needed you. God needed you, and you did what you were supposed to do. I feel like it's like that with your ear. Like, it doesn't, like, why did I have to lose these babies? Like, why did the narcissist have to happen? Why does this have to happen to your ear? It's not fair. And yeah, if you and I were making the world, it isn't fair. You're right. But it's God's world, and there's a reason for it. That we don't know. You'll know one day, but you don't know. But you do know that it could help somebody.
Yeah, when I get off my ass and I help somebody else out and their wife is dying of cancer or they have a terminal illness or something horrible happens, I count my blessings and I'm grateful. So for me, the trick is helping others out. When I got sober, like all those mistakes I made and all those things that I did, and I was able to share those with people that were trying to get sober, that did those same rotten things even worse. And they saw that, I was sober, I was able to make amends and actually like to change and to make right those wrongs. I couldn't do what I did, but my past was like my greatest asset, and I was able to use that. So, maybe it's hard to talk about, you guys. It's very, very, very difficult to talk about. I feel selfish and self-centered, and but my God, yeah, I had 13 operations by the time I was like 8 years old, and about 5 or 6 after that. And when I get into a hospital, I get very, very nauseous and weak. And I actually, about 10 years ago, wanted to go to nursing school to face that, like to be in that setting and to face my fears. I was working full time. The narcissist I was with was in her third treatment center for heroin addiction, and it just wasn't possible. But yeah, if this helps anybody or whatever, the only thing I say is like, don't do what I do. First off, I'm a quick forgetter, and secondly, like I don't want to continue this. Okay, thanks God for getting me out of this narcissistic relationship. I'm good now, and then continue on, still not fully conscious. And when there's more awakening that could happen, and just so I continue this road with God and use Him and His love for me as my self-worth and self-esteem. And I'm grateful in the way. Scared sometimes, but that's okay.
Joe and I have tried, and we're still trying, to recognize it and live our life for God. Like you even said, Joe, a while ago, a couple weeks ago, I guess. We need to really make sure that when Christmas comes, like Jesus is the focus of that. And we're not trying to push God down anyone's throat, but for us, what you said is right. We neither of us, we've had too much go on in our life to just say to God, okay, thanks, we got it from here. Like, we get each other, we're good. Let's ride off into the sunset.
Three dangerous words that I hear from people sometimes is, I got this.
Yeah.
Like when I say that shit, it might work for them.
Run.
No, when they're like, oh, you got this. I'm like, no, you don't want me to get this. This is not good when I got it. Let go and let Joe is not the way to go. not for me. But I think that's part of the reason why we haven't been on together as far as the Sharon and Joe show. See, Sharon's ready. She's ready to go. And we're ready to live our lives. We did good with our children. Like, I think we call him Dad, God, because he's our father. I think he's proud of us. And we mess up and we say, I love you, and we sin every day and this and that. But she has wanted to be like, come on, now we can finally go. Now we're finally free. And I was trying to explain to her, like, not just yet. Like, I've got to get right with myself. I've got to find this freedom within. So I've been trying to catch up, but I made a promise to her, like that we have this diagram as a metaphor of a triangle where God's on top and then it's Sharon and I on the bottom. And we try to stay there. Like, when we say we pray to God, I don't like calling it prayer because it's too, I went to Catholic schools, you guys. So it's too superficial. Like, we talk to God, and we call him Dad because I believe that we need to create this intimate relationship, a reality, like where he's in the room with us, he sees us, and he's here with us. So yeah, I'm catching up, and this is one of the opportunities where I could be free enough to say, yeah, let's get our little home somewhere, and let's find a nice little quaint town in the church, and let's be grateful. Whether I work in a warehouse or I'm in an office or I'm landscaping or painting or doing whatever, like, never settle for less. averages for suckers. Be the best you can be, but don't let my ego and vanity like fuel it. Like let my fuel and that fire be from my relationship with God.
Well, I don't know how else to end other than saying, thank you, Joe. That was awesome. And so we'll keep you up to date. Joe has a surgery in about 2 weeks, so I'll have you on beforehand. We'll at least on for a few minutes. And
yeah, if you guys could keep me in your prayers. Not that I need anything, but just I guess sometimes I ask God for things and then I'm like, no, you already gave me it. Like when I'm like, please help me. It's like I catch myself. I'm like, no, you already helping me. Like, please. Like, help me help myself. Like, he's given me all the tools. He's given me the courage and strength and faith. None of it comes from me. It's all through the Holy Spirit. But I guess, like, just keep me in your thoughts and prayers in a way where it's like, please help Joe help himself because you've given him everything that you need.
Yeah, Joe doesn't pray for himself. I do pray for myself. I pray for everybody. I pray for you guys. I pray for Joe. But yeah, he doesn't.
I lost that privilege a long time ago by living the life that I did. I pray for acceptance. And I pray that people can find him, and know him.
So I will see you guys in a couple of days, and I'll have Joe back on soon. I hope everybody has a wonderful week. Eat lots of apples if you've gone apple picking. And if you want my apple crisp recipe, let me know because it's really, really good. And I'd be happy to share it.
And forgive me, guys, if I sounded selfish or a coward or anything like that. Please go easy in the comments. But yeah, I think it was important for me as therapeutic to talk about. So thank you, guys.
All right, guys, I will talk to you later. Bye.